Dirt from the cemetery was still caked on the heels of my black shoes when the front door crashed open. Beatrice marched into the living room, gripping a roll of heavy black trash bags. Julian trailed behind her, his eyes already scanning the furniture like price tags. She stomped straight past me, marched up the stairs, and started tearing my clothes off the hangers, shoving them into the plastic bags. Then she turned around. Her manicured fingers stopped inches from my face. I am taking the house, the law firm, and every single account today. She spat. Her cold eyes flicked toward the nursery door. But I am not taking the kid. Take your burden and get out. My throat tightened, forcing down the bile. As a 32-year-old school psychologist, my daily life revolved around de-escalating tantrums from emotionally unregulated children. Now, the biggest toddler of them all was standing in my bedroom, screaming for my dead husband's empire downstairs. Julian was already measuring the walls for his gaming setup. The noise echoed through the floorboards. Beatrice wanted a reaction. She wanted tears. She wanted me to beg. I gave her absolute suffocating silence. I turned my back on her and walked into the nursery while I folded my daughter's tiny sweaters into a duffel bag. My eyes drifted to Leo's nightstand. A framed crayon drawing of a lopsided house sat next to his lamp. Something was wrong. The cardboard backing was slightly misaligned, jutting out from the wooden edge. My fingers traced the seam and pulled the cardboard free. A small brass key fell into my palm, wrapped in a sticky note. The handwriting was Leo's. It gave an address for a bank downtown and a box number. 2 hours later, I sat in a windowless vault room at the credit union, breaking the seal on a thick manila envelope. Inside lay the absolute brilliance of the man I had just buried. Leo knew his family. He knew Beatrice's predatory greed and Julian's suffocating private debts. Over the last 6 months of his illness, while he was pretending everything was fine, he was quietly building a fortress for us and digging a grave for them. The first document was a life insurance policy and a set of retirement accounts totaling $1,500,000. He had updated the beneficiary designations directly to me. These were non-probate assets. They bypassed the estate entirely. The money was already legally mine, completely untouchable by his mother or her lawyers. The second document was a handwritten ledger. The lucrative law firm Beatrice was currently screaming to inherit was a mirage. It was drowning in $850,000 of debt. The worst part was a massive sum owed to the Internal Revenue Service for unpaid employee payroll taxes. The government considers those trust fund taxes. They pierce the corporate veil. Whoever owns the company is personally liable for every single cent. I synced the living room nanny camera footage to my private cloud drive, factory reset the physical lens, and walked away from the house. The settlement meeting took place the following Tuesday in a sterile conference room smelling of stale coffee and expensive cologne. Beatrice sat at the head of the table, vibrating with greedy anticipation. She needed this firm to liquidate cash and save Julian from his creditors. Her own attorney, an older man with tired eyes, slid a document toward her. He strongly advised a full forensic audit before assuming the estate liabilities. Beatrice sneered at him, then glared at me. She assumed I was trying to stall, trying to hide the gold mine. She snatched the pen and signed the waiver of due diligence without reading a single paragraph. Her attorney closed his briefcase with a loud snap. Since you are acting directly against legal counsel, my firm is officially withdrawing representation, he said. You are on your own." He walked out of the room without looking back. Beatrice did not care. She smirked, crossing her arms, telling me I would always be a useless burden who never deserved her son. I smiled softly, slid the heavy brass house keys across the polished mahogany table, and stood up. I walked out into the bright afternoon sun, holding my daughter's hand. 4 weeks later, the guillotine dropped. Beatrice had immediately made Julian a co-signer on the firm's operating accounts, eager to start siphoning cash. The Internal Revenue Service did not send a polite warning. They simply executed the levy. They froze the firm's account, Beatrice's personal savings, and Julian's checking accounts. Over $500,000 vanished overnight into government holds. Real estate liens hit the house. Malpractice creditors swarmed. Beatrice was bankrupt. She had absolutely nothing left. But a narcissist never blames the mirror. Faced with her own ruin, Beatrice experienced an extinction burst. She needed a victim, and she chose me. She dialed Child Protective Services. She called the school board where I worked. She spun horrific, fabricated lies about me abusing my daughter and stealing from a grieving mother, hoping to strip away my career and my child in one final act of vengeance. She ambushed me on a Tuesday afternoon. The school courtyard was packed with parents waiting for pickup. Beatrice stormed through the front gates, her face twisted in rage, screaming at the top of her lungs. She pointed at me, wailing to the crowd that I was a monster, a thief, an abusive mother who needed to be locked away. Parents gasped. Whispers rippled through the courtyard. I did not raise my voice. I did not defend myself. I just waited. The school resource officers approached quickly, hands resting nervously on their duty belts. Beatrice turned to them, crying fake tears, demanding they arrest me. I reached into my bag and handed the lead officer a folded stack of papers. It was an emergency order of protection. Weeks ago, using the cloud-saved audio of Beatrice, explicitly stating she wanted my assets but wanted to throw away my child. A judge had granted the restraining order without hesitation. The officer read the paper. His expression hardened. He turned to Beatrice and ordered her to place her hands behind her back. The courtyard went dead silent. The only sound was the sharp, metallic ratcheting of steel handcuffs closing around Beatrice's wrist. The blood drained from her face, leaving her pale and trembling. She looked around at the hundreds of parents staring at her with pure, unadulterated disgust. Her pristine social standing, the only thing she valued more than money, shattered right there on the concrete. They marched her to the squad car. The war was over. The toxic alliance imploded instantly. Julian, now legally ruined and facing federal tax liabilities, filed a lawsuit against his own mother for financial coercion. They spent their remaining days tearing each other apart in civil court. I bought a beautiful sunlit house in a gated neighborhood miles away, paid for with clean, untraceable cash. I sit at my new oak dining table now, watching my daughter draw colorful flutterbees on construction paper. Leo's handwritten letter sits framed on the mantle. The silence in this house is the most beautiful sound in the world. When you survive someone whose entire existence is fueled by control and entitlement, you learn very quickly that arguing is just giving them ammunition. A narcissist interprets your anger as proof of their power. They take your explanations and twist them into weapons. Rule number 1 is mastering the gray rock. Limitless kindness without boundaries is just a prolonged form of self-harm. When you face an emotional abuser, you must drain yourself of all reactions. Become as uninteresting and unmovable as a gray rock. When you stop giving them your pain, they starve. Rule number 2 is recognizing the illusion of winning. Society teaches us to fight for every inch, to never let anyone take what is ours. But sometimes surrendering a hollow crown is the ultimate trap. Handing over the keys to a burning building is not an act of cowardice. It is the purest form of strategy. True victory is never about who screams the loudest in a conference room. True victory is about who sleeps peacefully at night, knowing their future is secure. Rule number 3 is understanding the true definition of loyalty. Blood is nothing more than a biological accident. Sharing a last name does not give anyone a free pass to disrespect you, abuse you, or steal from your children. Family is defined entirely by protection, sacrifice, and foresight. Leo proved his loyalty from beyond the grave, shielding us from the very people who shared his genetics. Have you ever surrendered something just to protect your peace, only to realize your silence was the loudest? Most devastating revenge of all. Have you ever walked away and let a toxic person dig their own grave? Tell me your story in the comments below. Your quiet strength today might be the exact blueprint someone else needs to survive tomorrow. I know exactly what you are screaming at the screen right now. You are probably thinking, why on earth did she stand there in total silence while her mother-in-law bagged up her clothes? Why on earth did she just hand over the keys to a law firm without putting up a massive fight? Well, take a breath, because what you just witnessed was a masterclass in psychological and financial self-defense. Let us break down exactly why this strategy was pure genius. First, let us talk about the psychology of toxic relationships. A lot of people wonder why victims stay polite or endure the abuse for years before snapping. It is called intermittent reinforcement, or the slot machine effect. Toxic people do not treat you terribly 100% of the time. Every now and then, they drop a crumb of decency, a fake smile at a holiday dinner, a tiny compliment. It keeps you pulling the lever, hoping for a jackpot of genuine love and acceptance that is never coming. Nora was not stupid or weak for enduring Beatrice's cruelty. She was conditioned. But the moment the worst happened, the slot machine stopped paying out entirely. The illusion broke. That is when Nora shifted from a grieving widow to a tactical survivor. Now, let us look at the street-smart financial execution. This is where Nora and her late husband played a flawless game of chess. Move 1 is the audit strategy. Beatrice was blinded by her own greed. She looked at the revenue and assumed she had struck gold. Scammers, manipulators, and entitled people absolutely hate details. By arrogantly signing that waiver of due diligence, Beatrice skipped the audit and swallowed a poison pill. She ignored the fine print, and Leo knew that Internal Revenue Service trust fund taxes would pierce the corporate veil. He weaponized the ultimate financial predator against his own mother. Move 2 is the buyout. Nora sliding those keys across the mahogany table was the ultimate investment in her own freedom. She traded a toxic, debt-ridden mirage for absolute peace. Sometimes the smartest financial move you can make is letting the other person think they won. Never let your ego trick you into fighting for a crown that is actively on fire. Move 3 is building the case. Nora did not argue in the school courtyard. She let her hidden cloud-saved camera footage and the legal system do the talking. When you deal with a narcissist, do not give them your voice. Give them a paper trail. An emergency restraining order speaks much louder than a public screaming match. Here is the final verdict. Your peace of mind is the most valuable asset in your portfolio. Do not bankrupt your soul trying to fix people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Blood might make you related, but loyalty, respect, and safe boundaries make you family. If you are dealing with a toxic manipulator in your life right now, stop pulling the lever on that broken slot machine. Build your case, secure your exit, and let them inherit their own ashes. Have you ever had to use the gray rock method to survive a toxic relative? Drop a comment below and share your experience. Your story might be the exact survival guide someone else needs today. Make sure to hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the psychology of survival. See you next time.